Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists. Hello, I'm Dango Rose, and this is the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening.
And I'm Cynthia Davis. In this week's episode, we hear from Barbara Hardt, managing editor of the Mountaineer. She's going to talk to us a little bit about the most recent developments for the digital archive project of the newspaper.
We hear this week's music mentions from Jamie Lammers, and special correspondent Marianne Rosen will share a story on the ancient origins of Beltane, otherwise known as May Day.
Then we talk to Herman and Tim Carbone of the High Hawks. They play the Caribou Room on May 5th for a much-anticipated show by fans and friends.
But first, some news from your neighborhood.
The town of Nederland is accepting applications for boards and commission vacancies that will be in June. If you want to help make Nederland a better place for everyone, consider joining one of the boards and get involved. Applications are due May 17th. Learn more about each board and download the application by visiting townofnederland.colorado.gov. Then follow the links to the Apply for a Board Vacancy page.
It may not feel like it, but summer is right around the corner, and so is the annual Nederland Town Cleanup. With everything going on in town, organizers want to get an early start with securing volunteers. This year's Big Clean has been scheduled for Saturday, June 3rd. Volunteers will be needed from 7:30 a.m. until 12 p.m. Volunteers can dispose of their items free of charge, and Bright Heart Catering will be providing burritos to keep everyone going strong. Go online to sign up at town-of-nederland.colorado.gov/clean-up-day.
We are still collecting messages and tributes from Mom to be printed in our upcoming Mother's Day edition of the Mountaineer newspaper. Email info@themountaineer.com to get started on your special thanks to the best mom ever.
The U.S. Forest Service is reminding residents that they have been conducting a series of prescribed burns set to wrap up by May 7th. Due to smoke from the burns, residents are being encouraged to limit outdoor activities. You can read more information about the burns and how to stay up to date on the progress and completion of the controlled burns through the Forsyth Canyon and Gross Reservoir areas.
Read more local news and feature stories in print and online at themountaineer.com.
And that's it for this week's news briefs. If you have something to share, you can send requests for submission to info@themountaineer.com. As long as it meets our community standards, we'll be sure to include it in a future episode. Brightwood Music has been serving the Peak to Peak region and beyond since opening in 2008. The full-service music store offers new and used instruments and will even repair the ones you've got. Go ahead and check them out on Facebook at Brightwood Music. Brightwood Music is the best music store with altitude across the Peak to Peak.
And now for our lead story. We're going to catch up with Barbara Hardt, managing editor of the Mountaineer. Barb, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Barbara Hardt, and I am the managing editor of the Mountaineer newspaper located in the Peak to Peak region of Colorado.
We spoke about this in January, but if you don't mind, tell us again how it all got started.
Well, it came about because I was actually working with a lecturer at the library and working with the Nederland Area Historical Society to figure out a project that we could do together. And one of the things that came up was the archive of the Mountain Ear. So we approached the grant foundation that gave us the first grant as a combined grant through the library. And that was through Electra, for sure. She's been amazing.
And when did you first get the news funding had become available to complete such a huge project?
The application was submitted and approved. We got the notification on March 14th, 2022. So just over a year ago.
So tell us about the process. What has it taken to get it this far?
I had on our end to get the archive ready for preservation. It has been Tanya Unger and myself that have worked the most in the archive. We've had some help from Hayden as well, but it's really been Tanya and I. And really, it's Tanya that is doing the massive amount of work involved to make the process happen. And she still does it every day. She works almost daily in the archive to make that process move forward.
Barb, tell us what you think is one of the most beneficial ways people are going to be able to utilize such detailed documentation of the community.
Right. That is the most important aspect of what we are doing is keeping that history alive. And one of the cool things about it is that you can search the archive. So now, let's say we want to talk about the town of Nederland had, the marshal resigned last year, and this was a very big issue for us. And there were a lot of people saying things like this had never happened, when in fact we go through the historical archive. And just in the years that we already have digitized and accessible, we can actually see that this has happened multiple times. This is an ongoing thing, and we can use that information to maybe make better plans for the future. When you talk about people that are building something and they want to say, this has never been brought before us to discuss the building of this idea. In fact, it was brought before us, and here's the date that it was brought before us, and it was in the Mountaineer in this issue. So these are things that we can use that we haven't had in a searchable format before now that will save us massive amounts of time on finding that institutional knowledge of what has happened in all of the entities from Blackhawk, Central City, Nederland, our Northwest neighbors in Boulder County, and even down the canyons. All of this news is there. And what we're trying to do is make it so we can search it and use it and learn from it and hopefully not make the same mistakes we've made before.
And how it even contains a lot of local family history.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff that's in there. Because we go back 46 years, we are several generations in that you can pull up that information. And we get people all the time calling and saying, asking us for very specific editions where somebody was on the cover or there was an obituary. I had it requested to post office this morning. Do you still have a copy of this obituary for this person? Yes, in fact, I do. Because that one was recent, I actually still have it in paper format. But the older ones, we can go through now and look at some of that information that helps build timelines that are needed for families.
So is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
I just want people to know they can reach out to us if they need any help figuring out how to search in there because it's awesome. It's an incredible process, and you can pull up by one single name. You can pull up all the stories related to that person as far as what we do already have in the archive. But that, and then keep watching it because it's all going to be online before the end of this year. That's the goal. I'm hoping it'll all be online before the end of this summer.
Thank you, Barb. We understand this and know it's going to be a real gift to the folks of Nederland and to the entire Peak to Peak community just to have these archives available. There are direct links to the archives on our website. Just go to themountaineer.com. And don't forget, that is the MTNEAR.com.
Now we go to correspondent Jamie Lammers, who will be delivering this week's Music Mentions.
And now for this week's Music Mentions. Head to the Canyon Tavern located at 32138 Highway 72 in Coal Creek Canyon on Friday, May 5th at 6 p.m. for a karaoke night, and on Saturday, May 6th at 6 p.m. for a Chris Koltak performance. Head to the Caribou Room located at 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Nederland to check out the High Hawks with Drunken Hearts on Wednesday, May 5th. Doors open and dinner starts at 7 p.m. and the show starts at 8 p.m. Every Thursday at 7 p.m., the Covered Wagon hosts a karaoke night. Be sure to head to 15 East 1st Street in Nederland to check them out for yourself. Head to the Gold Hill Inn, located at 401 Main Street in Gold Hill on Friday, May 5th at 8 p.m. to see That Damn Sasquatch performing live, on Saturday, May 6th at 7 p.m. to see the Cody Sisters performing live, and on Sunday, May 7th at 7 p.m. to see Salome Songbird performing live. Head to Howlin' Wind Brewing, located at 51A Main Street in Rollinsville on Saturday, May 6th at 5:30 p.m. for a songwriter night featuring Benny Galloway, Paul Sink, Adam Paz, Brandy Ray, and Dave Pullins. Head to the Jamestown Mercantile, located at 108 Main Street in Jamestown on Wednesday, May 3rd at 5 p.m. for an open mic night, on Thursday, May 4th at 7 p.m. for a Grey Rails performance, and on Friday, May 5th at 7 p.m. for a Pine Beatles performance. Head to Knotted Root Brewing, located at 250 North Caribou Street in Nederland on Friday, May 5th at 5 p.m. to see Chris Thompson of Coral Creek performing live. Also be sure to head there every Sunday at 4 p.m. to see Jazz Sundays with Black Dog and Friends. Every Saturday at 6 p.m., the Millsite Inn hosts an open jam. Be sure to head to 44365 Highway 72 in Ward to check it out for yourself. Also be sure to be there on Friday, May 5th at 8 p.m. to see James Spicer performing live, and on Saturday, May 6th at 8 p.m. to see Wolf Lesher performing live. Head to Ned's Cafe, located at 121 North Jefferson Street in Nederland, every Thursday at 10 p.m. for a Damn Jam, and every Sunday at 7 p.m. for a karaoke night. Head to Sweet Sue's, located at 35 East 1st Street in Nederland, to check out an open mic night on Friday, May 5th at 5 p.m. And finally, head to the Very Nice Brewing Company, located at 20 East Lakeview Drive, number 112 in Nederland, on Friday, May 5th at 6 p.m. to check out Reservoir Fog performing live, and on Saturday, May 6th at 5 p.m. to see Intergalactic Peace Jelly performing live. Did we miss you or your performances? Want to submit your music listing in the Peak to Peak area? Do you have updates to your business or to your performances? Please call 303-810-5409 or email info@themountaineer.com to be included in the next print edition or the next podcast of The Mountain Ear.
Thank you, Jamie. Now let's drop in with special correspondent Marianne Rosen, who tells us a fascinating tale about the historical roots of Beltane.
In telling the story of May 1st, one can wander down two different paths. The first is the more modern version, which has to do with the labor movement, honoring workers, and commemorating the countrywide protests and the Chicago riots of 1886. Also associated with the communist celebrations of workers and military hardware and weapons, the day is often thought of and referred to as May Day. In actuality, it is International Workers' Day and does not have any real connection to the origin and meanings of May Day or Beltane. So this story will walk down the second trail, which leads us to the ancient origins of May Day. At least 1,000 years old, if not older, Beltane, most likely named for the Celtic sun god Belenus, originated across Gaelic Celtic regions of the British Isles. It is one of the 8 Sabbats and is celebrated halfway between Ostara, or the spring equinox, and the coming summer solstice, or Litha. The holiday celebrates both the peak of spring and the upcoming summer. It was a day to practice rituals to protect cattle, crops, and people. Bonfires played heavily in the celebrations, as they were believed to have protective powers, and fire, as a symbol of the sun, reminded people to recollect the growing power of the sun and the cleansing of their communities after the dark months spent inside. As Beltane bonfires were lit, people would douse all fires in their home and would relight them using May Day fires. Walking your cattle around the bonfires and people jumping over the flames or embers were traditions. A May Queen was chosen. She wore all white as a sign of purity with a wreath of May flowers in her hair. She was usually paired with a male called the Green Man, usually seen with his head surrounded by leaves, vines, and flowers. He was a symbol of rebirth. Speaking of greenery and flowers, they also played an important role in the celebrations. Gathering wildflowers, wearing flower garlands, setting up a May tree or bush, and decorating the doors and windows of your homes with May flowers were all part of the heritage. Putting up a maypole and dancing around it was an important part of the day. In later years, people would fill paper baskets with flowers and leave them on neighbors' steps. The custom was to knock, yell, "May baskets," and run. Other traditions included the May Queen blessing fire, water, and other elements on her journey to summer, drinking, enjoying feasts, which often included fried breads, butter, beer, and mead, offering blessings, prayers, chants, and mantras to the forest, trees, and Mother Earth, and asking for fertility, to name just a few. As in most stories of ancient holidays, as Christianity flourished, they stepped in to try to quench the pagan celebration and turn it into a tamer Christian one. The church proceeded to revolve the day around the Mother Mary, naming her the May Queen. However, all of the processions, offerings of flowers, the crowning of her statue with a flower wreath, and even a maypole to honor her were all actually drawn from Beltane lore. After this happened, May Day celebrations waned a little over the years. In 1988, a huge revival of the rituals occurred, especially in Scotland, and Beltane is still celebrated in present times. So as this May Day approaches, celebrate the season, and may you have a blessed and joyous one.
Okay, folks, it's the Bizarre Cat Bazaar call to action for vendors, artists, musicians, and merrymakers. If you want to be a part of this exciting new event taking place in the heart of Nederland, go to thebizarrecatbazaar.com. That's with both bazaars, a cat in the middle and a .com. Next, Dango catches up with Tim Carbone of the legendary supergroup the High Hawks about their much-anticipated show coming up at the Caribou Room this Friday, May 5th.
All right, it's wonderful to have Tim Carbone with us of Railroad Earth, and more importantly in this moment, the High Hawks. Tim, thanks for joining us. Could you please introduce yourself for our listening audience?
I'm Tim Carbone, and as Dango has said, I play the violin in Railroad Earth and also the guitar, and I do the same in the High Haw.
And the High Hawks have a show coming up at the Caribou Room on Friday, May 5th. Have you guys actually played Nederland before?
Well, we've played in Nederland, but we were kind of born in just outside of Nederland in Vince Herman's house when he lived near there. So our initial rehearsals where we revealed to each other the songs we wanted to play and sing happened in Vince's living room.
And when was it, Tim, that the High Hawks cracked open the proverbial egg and the band was born?
I believe it was sometime in 2018. That would make sense because we did a bunch of shows and then the world ended for a period of time. So I call that, I've been calling that the before times. So in the before times, the High Hawks began in the before times.
So how did the name the High Hawks come about?
We did come around to a name. We realized that after it was actually really cool. We show up at Vince's house and everybody had brought a few originals and a couple of covers. And then once we were just trying to figure it out, everybody threw out a few names, and then the one that stuck stuck was the High Haw. So, and that's how that happened.
So, Tim, tell me, what's it like playing with a frontman personality such as Vince Herman as compared to what you're more readily used to playing with a man like Todd Schaefer in Railroad Earth?
Completely different. 100% different. Years ago, in a prior lifetime, I played in a band called the Blue Sparks from Hell. And our lead singer in that band was very similar to Vince. Vince is a little bit more folky, whereas our lead singer in the Blue Sparks from Hell was kind of like a combination of Lenny Bruce. He was almost equal parts Lenny Bruce, Nureyev, the ballet dancer, Mick Jagger, and also he kind of had a similarity to John Boy Walton because he kind of had that metal rimmed glasses, and he was a little folky, but it was a lot more weird American folky, like the Holy Nordell Rounders kind of folky. But so I'm very used to playing with a lead singer / leader that is improvising humor in amongst the great songs that he writes and sings. And Todd is not that. Todd doesn't really say much, but he lets the songs speak for themselves.
So as a violinist, what's it like finding your unique voice in each of these different dynamics?
It's a great question. I have to go about it in two different ways. In Railroad Earth, I play a part. Mostly, I'm the fiddle player, I'm an occasional songwriter, singer, and I also occasionally play electric guitar. Whereas in the High Haw, I'm not like Vince, but I talk a lot more to the audience in the High Haw, where I don't really talk to the audience at all in Railroad Earth. So more of a show, more of let's involve the audience, this, raucous, funny, sometimes poignant thing, and then we all contribute. I certainly don't do the same kind of, I don't call it a shtick because it's not a shtick. It's actually, it's totally honest what they do. It's how they are. But, I'm a little bit darker, maybe. My songs are definitely a little darker.
Speaking of your songs, Tim, I know on the album, Blue Earth is one of them. What other songs on the album are yours that you've written and that you sing?
Just Another Stone is one of them. The other song that I sing on the record is not mine. It's a Woody Guthrie lyric. It was put to music by a fellow whose name is escaping me at the moment, but he was on a record called New Multitudes with Jay Farrar and also Jimmy James from My Morning Jacket.
And what's the name of that song?
It's called Fly High.
It's a perfect song for the High Hawks.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah. And it's just a brilliant song.
So anything else going on right now aside from Railroad Earth and the High Hawks?
Yeah. 100%. Well, I'm actually working on a record with Lenny Kaye. I'm producing a record for Lenny Kaye. I have this other side project thing that I do, which hasn't been heard from since before the pandemic, called Cedar Sparks. And we had, back in 2017, we recorded a Christmas song. And so we're releasing double-sided 45 RPM record for Black Friday Record Store Day coming up in November. And we were working on songs so we can put out a follow-up record, maybe an EP, after the single, so sometime in the spring of 2024. I'm also working with one of my songwriting heroes, Walter Salas-Maurer from the band The Silos. I don't know if you're familiar with them at all, but there's a couple of records of The Silos, or at least one record that it would be one of my Desert Island discs. I finally reconnected with Walter for the first time since the mid-90s, and he invited me to come play some solo shows with him and also go out and play a couple of shows with The Silos in June, which is really exciting for me because these songs are incredibly great. And, other than that, I'm still producing records. I do 2 or 3 records a year. I just did a record with a band from Arkansas called Eureka Strings, and we'll be mixing that coming up shortly. And I'm working on a book, on a memoir that I'm about 60 or 70,000 words into, which I hope to have complete sometime later this year.
Well, congratulations, Tim. That all sounds incredible. Circling back to the Caribou Room, what can people expect coming out to the show?
They're going to have a mighty fine time to steal some words from Vince Herman. It's super fun, and we're sort of a ramshackle combination of the Flying Burrito Brothers meets the Rolling Stones meets John Hartford. It's equal parts rock and roll, equal parts country rock, good songs, good people, good times.
Thank you so much, Tim, for hopping on the podcast. We're all very excited to see you, Vince, and the High Hawks on Friday, May 5th at the Caribou Room. Looking forward to seeing you there.
I'm looking forward to seeing you, my friend.
Tell me why. Oh, why? On this blue earth, there's so much time to cry. Tell me why. Oh, why? On this blue earth, there's so much time to cry.
That was a portion of the High Hawks, Blue Earth, written by Tim Carbone. Next, Cynthia catches up with Vince Herman, who tells us more about the upcoming show and what he's got on tap with the Vince Herman Band thereafter.
Hi, I'm Vince Herman. I play with the High Haw in the Vince Herman Band and Leftover Salmon, and we're coming your way.
Thank you for the introduction, Vince. So tell us a little bit about this supergroup you've been kicking around with.
Yeah, the High Hawk does a conglomeration of 6 different bands. You come together with kind of and find your common spots. And with the High Hawks, there's a lot of improvisation, a lot of playing off of each other. And there's a pile of songs that are different from any of the other projects we're doing. And, they go somewhere different than any other projects. And our newest record, which will be out sometime probably in the fall, goes into all kind of surprising places that, we've never gone before with any of our bands, So, the chemistry of players, when they get together, it's always unique. And the combination, if everyone's kind of being themselves, and the High Hawks make a pretty joyous sound when we all get together.
And Vince, can you tell us a little bit about how the music coming out of the High Hawks is different from just the usual bluegrass flavor most people might associate you with?
Yeah, we're definitely, we've got some roots in bluegrass, but of any of my current projects, the High Hawks is definitely the least bluegrassy, and definitely towards the rock and some reggae, bluesy kind of stuff. But yeah, it's rock and roll dance music, and definitely with a country kind of edge to it, maybe more than some of the other projects.
So it's easy to describe as a culmination of an already established sound from each one of you.
Yeah, that's when it works first. It's both best is when everybody brings their kind of their best self in whatever form that is, to those songs. And the songs bring a different aspect out of us, for sure.
And tell us what it's been like creating with what most are describing as this sort of Americana jam band supergroup.
Yeah, well, Tim is an absolute amazing fiddle player, guitar player, singer, writer, producer, and he plays all the bases, and the working with him is great. Adam Gruhl is just completely unique human being, and a great singer, writer, producer in his own right. And he brings a lot vocally to the table. I love singing with him. I think our voices, he and I in particular, have a thing. I don't know, it's the Pittsburgh, Wisconsin connection or something, or I don't know what it is, but we have a good groove singing together. Chad Staley, another monster producer, player, singer, brings a whole lot to the table. Writing wise, keyboard stuff is just great. It just makes the sound real fat. And, it's such a pleasure. And then, with Brian Adams on bass, just from the old Taxi days, it's just solid as could be. And he just plays some really great bass lines. It just really makes the groove and bend of the pump. And Will Trask is a monster on the drums. It's a really fun group of guys to have some tunes with.
Are you excited to be back in Ned playing the Caribou Room?
Oh, the Caribou Room is the center of the universe, man. Great scene there. You know, I mean, my son Silas is the house production guy. His mom Kimba is the house manager. You know, so it's a family thing. Colin was doing lights there. My son Colin. So it's a family establishment, and I love to stop into it and visit any time, whether it's the Christmas stuff or whatever. But I just love playing the Caribou Room. It's a great facility for a little mountain town that really puts Nederland on the musical map, as far as I'm concerned. It's a town that deserves a good venue because music is so important in that.
And we hear you're going to be around Colorado for a bit through May. Can you go ahead and tell folks where they can catch one of your shows before you head out?
Well, yeah, man. We'll be coming out with the High Haw, doing some shows, and we'll be in Buena Vista, Netherlands, and in Denver at Ophelia's. And then the next week we'll be out there with my Vince Herman band, and we'll be playing the Gold Hill Inn and Cervantes the next weekend. So really fired up about that.
Thank you, Vince. I know a lot of people miss seeing you and Ned and can't wait to catch up. Be sure and check out our show notes with more links and dates on where to catch Vince play. That concludes this week's episode of the Mountain Air Podcast, where everybody's listening.
Visit our website at www.themountaineer.com to read more information about today's guests. Pick up a copy of this week's print edition of The Mountaineer at newsstands all across the Peak to Peak. I'm Dango Rose.
And I'm Cynthia Davis. Thank you for listening.
Every day is a better day in Netherlands.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.